But Worth was not the same as aliveness. A gull cried over the river, harsh and ragged. Somewhere behind him traffic whispered over wet pavement. Ottawa went about its business, civil servants, consultants, students, cyclists with accusatory lungs, people with meetings and parking passes and thermoses and plans. Topher had a schedule too. He had a yard session that afternoon and a classroom block after that. Air brake systems, inspection defects, hours of service rules. He would stand in front of people half listening and half panicking about their futures, and he would explain again that a truck did not care whether you were in a hurry. A truck cared about physics. Physics had no mercy, but at least it was consistent. He should go. Instead, he stayed on the rock. The radio beside him crackled. It was a small solar-powered thing he had bought years ago because he liked the idea of devices that could survive human stupidity. It sat on the rock beside him, black casing scratched, antenna angled toward a sky the color of wet wool. He had brought it out mostly for company. Music faded in through static. Roger Hodgson's voice rose into the cold morning, clear and aching. Had a dream. Topher stared at the radio. Oh, piss off, he said softly. The goose blinked. No, not you, the universe. The song moved through the bare trees and over the broken river, too precise, too theatrical, too much like the world had leaned over and tapped the glass. Topher did not believe in signs, not officially. He loosely followed Buddhism, which in practice meant he tried to be kind, distrusted attachment, failed constantly, and occasionally mistook avoidance for spiritual detachment. He believed in cause and effect. He believed in suffering. He believed desire could make an idiot of a man, especially if the man in question had historically allowed his penis to sit on several executive committees. But he did not believe in signs. Still, had a dream, he murmured. He had had dreams, dozens, hundreds, some noble, some stupid, some wearing short skirts and bad intentions, music dreams, horse dreams, island dreams, dreams of warm cedar air after rain, dreams of Victoria, where he had lived for more than 30 years, where winter knew how to behave itself and the ocean smelled like memory, dreams of dogs asleep by the door, dreams of horses shifting in their stalls, dreams of a life that had once seemed possible with Liesel, before things fell apart in that particularly cruel way where no one was evil enough to make leaving simple. Other dreams had gone rotten. Michelle had almost broken him. There was no poetic way to say that. She had been damaged with perfume on, hunger without a bottom, a thief of money and peace and years, sex and drugs and cruelty braided together until love became a room with no clean air. He had escaped, but escape was not the same as healing. Sometimes escape was only learning to breathe badly somewhere else. Teddy was a closed door with teeth. Lysel was different. Lysel was grief with kindness in it. Horses, dogs, work, mud, laughter, the shape of the life he had actually wanted. They were still friends, which made the loss both easier and worse. And Paige. His daughter's name could still stop him in the middle of an ordinary day. Paige, because even when he was young he had believed in music too much and consequences too little. He had not always been the father he should have been. He loved her, that was true. Love, unfortunately, did not rewrite attendance records. It did not erase selfishness. It did not make a young man wise retroactively. The river pushed ice downstream. Topher took another pull from the joint, smaller this time, and let the smoke out slowly toward the water. No cyclists, no joggers, no innocent lungs, just the goose who probably had worse habits. "What am I doing?" he asked. The river did not answer. This was rude but consistent. His father would have had an answer. His father always had answers, even when they were wrong, even when they were shouted through a house after divorce had turned family into logistics. 30-plus years in the Army, black watch, boots polished, back straight, emotions handled the way one handled live ordnance, with distance, procedure, and the assumption that mishandling them could cost lives. Topher had bounced between homes when he was young, then settled with his father as a teenager. Military houses, rules, unspoken grief. The peculiar loneliness of being loved by people too wounded to make love feel safe. He had learned guitar partly because wood and strings made more sense than adults. David Gilmour bending one note until it became weather. Alvin Lee running like a man trying to outrun time. Stevie Ray Vaughan making pain useful. Duane Allman, Derek Trucks, Jimmy Page, Jeff Beck, Mark Knopfler, men who could take longing and give it hands.